All right, so we got this AskMenAdvice post on Reddit, and wow, did this one blow up.
Yeah, this one's really got people talking.
It's about dating and work in 2025, and basically this guy's just like, I'm done. I'm letting it all rot.
Yeah, the OP is not too happy with how things are going.
So is this like a sign of the times or just one guy having a meltdown?
Well, it's interesting how he connects letting it rot to this idea of a broken social contract.
Oh yeah, he goes on this whole rant about how men are told to be these high achievers.
Right, like you got to be a doctor or a lawyer to get ahead.
And then he's like, but wait, I don't need all that just to take care of myself.
And his point is, even with a regular job, it's like you're barely scraping by.
Yeah, he's basically saying, what's the point of working hard if the rewards aren't there?
And that's where the whole let it rot thing comes in.
But, I mean, isn't that kind of a Reddit thing?
What do you mean?
Like, you get these echo chambers where everyone's just feeding off each other's negativity.
Yeah, one commenter even calls the OP a victim of the algorithm.
So is this post really a sign of a bigger trend? Or is it just, algorithm hype?
That's a good question, and it's something we should definitely keep in mind as we dig deeper.
Okay, so back to the social contract.
Right.
This idea that if you play by the rules, society will take care of you.
Mm-hmm.
But this guy's saying, hey, that's not happening anymore.
And he's not the only one feeling that way.
Right, so is he just a lone voice, or is this feeling more common than we realize?
Well, one thing that's interesting is how many comments are pushing back on this whole idea that having a family should be the main goal.
Yeah, like a lot of people are talking about personal fulfillment instead.
Like travel, early retirement, pursuing their passions.
Right. It's not all about the traditional path anymore.
And for some people, that's actually more motivating.
I can see that.
Like one commenter was talking about how much they love their job as a plumber.
Really.
Yeah, they were like, I love solving problems and I make good money doing it.
That's cool.
And it's not just about the money either. They talked about how satisfying it is to be good at what you do.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah.
Even if you don't love your job, it's nice to feel competent.
Absolutely. But we also have to acknowledge the economic realities.
What do you mean?
Like, even if you find work that's fulfilling, the cost of living is just insane for a lot of people.
Yeah, it's tough out there.
So even if you're working hard and doing everything right, it can still feel like you're barely getting by.
And that's got to be frustrating.
Definitely. Especially when you see other people who seem to have it so easy.
Right, like the whole system feels rigged against you.
And that can lead to a lot of resentment and anger.
Which brings us back to this whole let it rot mindset.
Exactly. It's like a way of opting out of a system that feels broken.
So where do we go from here?
Well, let's dig into some of these other comments and see what else people are saying.
Sounds good. Let's see if we can find some answers.
So we were talking about finding fulfilling work, and it's tough out there.
Yeah, the economic realities are kind of a buzzkill.
Right. And that kind of leads us to another thread in these comments, this whole idea about capitalism itself.
Okay, so how does capitalism play into this let it rot thing?
Well, some people are arguing that instead of blaming women, maybe the OP should be looking at things like wealth inequality.
Like the system itself is rigged.
Yeah, and they're pointing to policies that benefit the rich.
Like the whole game is set up for the 1%.
Right, and one commenter said something like, America's one of the richest countries, but the average person feels exploited.
Oof, yeah, that hits close to home.
So it's not just about finding a job you love, it's about feeling like you're actually getting a fair shake.
And when the system feels stacked against you, it's easy to just want to give up.
Exactly. And that's where the let it rot sentiment comes from.
It's like a form of protest almost.
Yeah, a way of saying, I'm not playing your game anymore.
But of course, we can't ignore the gender dynamics here either.
No, definitely not.
I mean, this post sparked a whole debate about gender roles and expectations in dating.
It's like you can't talk about one without the other.
Right, and some people are pushing back on the OP's whole premise.
Like saying, hey, not all women are looking for a man to support them.
Exactly. There's this one comment from a woman who's like, I work hard, I travel, I enjoy my life on my own terms.
It's like she's saying, my worth isn't tied to having a man.
Right. And she's not alone. There are plenty of women who feel the same way.
So it's not as simple as men versus women. It's more nuanced than that.
It's about individual choices and societal expectations all tangled up together.
Exactly. And that brings us to another big theme that keeps coming up in the comments, this idea of personal responsibility versus systemic issues.
Oh yeah, that's a tricky one.
Like, where do we draw the line?
All right, is it about pulling yourself up by your bootstraps or recognizing when the system's working against you?
One commenter talked about working a factory job while also going back to school.
Wow, that's dedication.
Yeah, they were like, I don't want my brain to rot. I need more intellectual stimulation.
I feel that.
Yep.
It's like you need to find meaning in your work, even if it's not your dream job.
Yeah. But then again, we have to acknowledge that for some people, just surviving is a full-time job.
Right. They don't have the luxury of worrying about brain rot.
Mhm.
They're just trying to make ends meet.
So it's a complex issue with no easy answers.
It's like a constant balancing act between taking responsibility for your own life and recognizing when the odds are stacked against you.
And finding that balance, that's the real challenge.
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
Yeah.
Wow, this let it rot thing really got us thinking, huh?
It's like a tiny little phrase that opens up this whole can of worms about life and work and everything in between.
Right, like this one Reddit post has sparked all these different conversations.
And it's not just about the OP's specific situation, it's about the bigger questions they're raising.
Yeah, like what are we all working towards? What does it even mean to have a good life in 2025?
Is the social contract really broken? Is capitalism failing us? These are huge topics.
And there are no easy answers.
But I think that's what makes this so fascinating, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's forcing us to confront these uncomfortable truths.
And to really examine our own values and priorities.
Are we chasing after the right things? Or have we been sold a lie?
It's easy to feel lost and disillusioned, especially when you look around and see so much inequality.
Yeah, it's like the system is rigged against so many people.
But then you see those comments from people who are finding their own way.
Like that plumber who loves their job.
Or that woman who's traveling and living life on her own terms.
And it gives you a little bit of hope.
Like maybe it's not all doom and gloom. Maybe there's still a way to find meaning and fulfillment even in this crazy world.
It's about finding what works for you, right? What makes you feel alive and engaged.
And maybe it's not always about climbing the corporate ladder or having a traditional family.
Maybe it's about something simpler, something more authentic.
Yeah, like connecting with your community, finding a purpose that's bigger than yourself.
And creating a life that feels truly yours.
So maybe letting it rot isn't the answer.
Maybe it's about rebuilding something better, something that actually works for everyone.
And maybe it starts with conversations like this one, where we share our experiences and challenge each other to think differently.
Exactly, and that's what we try to do here at Voices of the Soul.
Right. We want to create a space where people can explore these big questions and connect with each other.
And hopefully come away with a little more understanding and maybe even a little more hope.
So if this deep dive resonated with you, if it got you thinking about your own life and your own values, we'd love to hear from you.
Head over to Shauna Pelage, our YouTube channel, and leave a comment.
Yeah, let's keep this conversation going. Let's figure out together how to build a better future.
And don't forget to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the topics that matter.
Thanks for listening.